I remember when I lost my mind. I was listening to this in the car today. There was something so special about that place. Maybe your emotions had an echo with so much space. When you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. And it's no, it wasn't because I didn't.
Before I get into the particulars of the Fab Four the other day, and how I do not agree, clearly I do not agree with the Democrats. They're just looking for something to take Trump down on, and rather than focusing on the hate speech coming out of the mouths of the Fab Four, not just the hate speech, but members of Congress who are supposed to represent the people of America, saying that Trump isn't acting like a president. Well, we had a lot of presidents that acted like presidents, but then we found out that they really were involved in really bad things. Crimes, war, lots of war. Trump just avoided a war because it would kill too many Muslim/people of color. He just saved the lives of, and many of them, I'm sure, would be Muslim women of color as well, and children, by avoiding a war with Iran. But that's not good. What's really bad, or what's really good, is he needs to act presidential. Instead of acting presidential and then blowing up the world, blowing up all these countries filled with non-white people who are not Christians, right? No, but if you're a congressperson, not only is an IQ not a major requirement, but acting dignified is not a major requirement. You don't have to be that smart to stand up and say, I'm going to stand up for these people. I'm going to stand up for Americans. I want to speak for the good of the people. I don't want to spew hate speech or hate this country because I've chosen to stay in this country instead of moving to another country that I actually think is better. Because if America is bad, that means you tell me what country is better. Maybe your home country isn't better. Maybe you don't want to go back, or the home country of your parents or grandparents. Maybe that's not better. But comparatively speaking, if America is this bad, and we've got millions of people flowing over our border that you want here, and this country is this bad, then you must stop them and build the wall, because this is a bad country. So until you fix this country, keep them out, lest they come in and suffer because they're people of color, though they're actually all Caucasians. They're actually not a different race, which is another little thing I'm going to do. A little PBS thing that came out, going down the list of all the things Trump has done that's racist, Donna said that's racist, PBS. And I went through the list, and I pretty much know the true history behind all this and the slant that they give everything. But pick your country, pick whatever country it is that you think is better. We've got the Mod Squad, not the Mod Squad, but the Fab Four, and you've got socialists and Muslims, and Islam believes in Sharia, and it's a totalitarian system. which goes hand in hand with socialism. That's why it's working so well under the EU, which is, the EU, no borders, socialist, and they're bringing in a lot of economic migrants, some refugees, some economic migrants, and it's going to work really well in a totalitarian, socialist system, because it's totalitarian. So what country is that? It would have to be a country that run under Sharia law. It would have to be totalitarian. But usually those systems aren't very nice. You say that women of color, usually those systems, especially Sharia, is not very great on women. For one, your husband can beat you. Surah 434 is allowed to beat you into submission. If your husband thinks that you might be thinking independently, you don't even have to do anything. Female genital mutilation, FGM. I'm not going to go into that. You can look that one up on the web. But that is a requirement. If you say, I've read the whole Quran, I really can't find it. It's in the Hadiths, it's in many places, FGM, that it is something that Muhammad recommended. Blessings and peace be upon him for that one. If you've got the whole FGM going on and you're living in a black body bag with slits for the eyes, well, if you're raped, you must have 4 men, Sharia. You must have 4 men stand up and speak for your honor, that you're not the kind of woman that would go out there and would be asking for it. You see, basically is believed that women, Muhammad, blessings and peace be upon him, said that hell was populated by mostly women who were disobedient to their husbands and were too sexually promiscuous. So a woman with, no genitals and slits for the eyes and a black body bag goes out and clearly is asking for it because she has no sexual feelings anymore. And she's sewn up, so a guy would have to break in to her for her to enjoy that experience. So if she doesn't have 4 men, God forbid she just has 3, she's killed because she dishonored her family, husband, whatever, by getting raped. So that's Sharia. Well, that's just Sharia for women. And of course they can get caned in public because they've done something wrong, and you have to wear something white so you can see the blood coming out. And of course they're stoning to death for adultery. Also, that if you're gay, let's say you're a lesbian or a man, whatever, that's also the death penalty. Beheadings, pushing you off the top of buildings, hanging. Iran did that shortly after Obama sent him over $150 billion in cash. They killed an adolescent boy that was sodomized. He was raped. Not the guy who raped him. The adolescent boy was hung. Okay, so these are great. That's a great system for women. And I think the Fab Four should go over and they should, go get these great ideas from all these countries that treat women really well. And they should bring the whole Me Too movement over there too. And then just bring back these ideas so we could make America a better place. Or you can pick out any of those countries that you think is better than America, because comparatively speaking, if you think America is bad, there's got to be something out there that's better. Because there's different countries, there's still different countries, even though we've got the EU, which is kind of like, globalist, run by an unelected body of dictators. There must be some country that's better, that you could say, this country is better than America, and we want to make America like this country. We like these laws because they treat women really well, and women can really blossom, and their true personality and their beauty can shine through, and they can speak their minds freely. One of those countries, please tell us that it treats people of color better as well. Now, I wouldn't count Africa because there's about probably more than 6 million now, because Hillary and Obama, when they took down Gaddafi was keeping slavery out, especially slavery of Black Africans. You see, in Africa, Black Africans own other Black Africans, so there's still slavery there. So I'm hearing through the grapevine that the Democrats are for reparations, which the West had slavery for about 300 years, okay? And the rest of the world had it since the dawn of time. And the rest of the world still has, except for the Western countries, because it's against the law and it's punishable by death, actually. Now, South America, where all these people of color come from, all these people of color that supposedly Trump hates, which are better. South America, a transatlantic slave trade. Let's see, America got 5% of all the slaves coming over from the transatlantic slave trade. And South America got 95%. But there's nobody in South America that is clamoring for reparations. Nobody. Why would that be? Did they already have reparations? And another thing they have, which is really interesting, is Spanish Conquistador Day and Columbus Day. See, they celebrate when the Spanish conquistadors came over and Columbus, because it brought the Hispanic people over, all these, so they celebrate it. And the Spanish conquistadors were considered white. They were the ones who were white that came over first. See, when Columbus went back home, they really found out that Columbus was actually Jewish. And during that time, the Spanish Inquisition started, and many Jews had to convert to Catholicism quickly, change their names, because for fear of the Spanish Inquisition. So as it turns out, he changed his name, and he actually comes from Genoa, Spain. So you can't blame the Italians at all whatsoever for the conquering of the New World at all whatsoever. Because the people of the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayans and the Toltecs and the Olmecs were extremely peaceful and loving and didn't have slavery or sacrifice people. They didn't do that at all. Anyway, so what was I getting at? What country is better? What country? People in South America must be all saints because they're all coming up here. But these are the descendants of the people who took 95%. And that would equal to, we got 5%, that we got 500,000. They got 95%. That would be 9,500,000 people south of the border got. But they're better. They're better than we are, and they celebrate Spanish Conquistador Day. And up here, the socialists, Democrats, they kind of like, it's a no to celebrate Columbus Day because it's a bad one. And it's Indigenous Peoples Day. But the people down there who are mixed with Spanish, Indigenous, Italians, all over, lots of people, Nazis came over, they celebrate Columbus Day and Spanish Conquistador Day. But we're so ignorantly politically correct in this country. That's why we've got the Fab Four. They're so ignorantly politically correct. They're not politically correct. You've got Omar, who is a beautiful woman. She's an elegant woman. She speaks I love the Somali accent. It's beautiful. And yet the things that come out of her mouth are not. That's what I have a problem with. Remember that anti-Semitic statement that she made, and they had a bill that they had to pass to stop the anti-Semitic statement, but then they added to it, you can't say anything against Muslims or whatever. They added a bunch of things except for white people and Christians. That's still okay. That would be actually considered racism in another time and place, by singling out people because of their skin color or their religion. That's actually anti-American and making something else against the law. But somehow her anti-Semitism has been brushed under the rug. And that's, I'm sure, was very hurtful to a lot of people who are Jewish. And when she said some people did some things about the largest terrorist attack in history. In fact, people are still dying to this day. They're still dying of cancer. The firefighters, people who rescued people, are dying to this day. People who survived that attack are still dying. Not just friends and family of the people on that day did it affect. It affected every single person who witnessed that. I know, though I wasn't in New York City, the ground rocked underneath my feet when that happened. You felt it. You never saw anything like it. It cut through you. America's soul died that day. Yet we came together as Americans. Everybody came together as Americans. It was bad, and yet at the same time we saw each other as Americans. But some people did some things. Now I have a schoolmate that she's about a year younger than me. She was going to be she was a stewardess, and she was supposed to fly on that flight. Except she backed out of that flight. She didn't go, and somebody else took her place. Now she's lost her mind. She had a beautiful family. I speak to her father all the time. Really good people. And she was a very, very sweet girl. Really sweet girl. And she had a husband, but she's completely lost her mind because she feels it's her fault that this other girl died. It should have been her. So saying some people did some things, that's just one example of someone that those callous and cruel words hurt. And people who know her hurt. And I didn't think of that until just now as I started filming. Just now, I remembered that. And to the extent of how those words hurt, yet, all you have to say is Trump said something against women of color. Even though we have politicians all over this country that are people of color who are not Christian, that he didn't say anything about. He didn't say, if you don't like it here, go back to your home country or the home country of your parents, whatever. Go. He's basically saying he's an alpha male. He's like a father. Look, you don't like it here. You're complaining all day. Go somewhere else that you think is better. But he said, you can stay, you can go. But if you stay here, love this country. Love the people of this country. Your Congress people, you say that Trump should be acting like a president. Well, I know many presidents that acted like presidents, but they did horrific things. This president just saved, untold amounts of people by averting a war with Iran. If he had a war with Iran, then he would be, he'd be starting a war that would end up killing untold amounts of Muslims, people of color, women of color who are Muslim, and children of color who are Muslim. Now, people of Persia are basically Caucasian. They're basically white-skinned, but the Fab Four, it's like the thing is getting bigger, and people of color, the whole idea, who's color, who's, and there's the white people, or it's getting kind of small. Who exactly are the white people and who exactly are the people of color? But he did just save the lives. It would be more than 150 people. You start a war with Iran, it's going to be possibly in the millions. He saved all those lives by averting that war. But somehow, by saying to four spoiled brats who have the intelligence of lint, and I don't care. Look, there's a lot of Congress people who are people of color that I'm not saying that about. It is not your race. It's not your religion I'm speaking against. It is your words and your hatred of this country. Either stay here and make it a better place, but don't keep feeding lies and hate. That's all Cortez does, is make up lies and get people riled up in hatred and anger. And the Democratic Party, afraid of being seen as racist, and they want to destroy Trump for any reason at all, that they so much want to divert your head, to turn your head from their own past and their own recent past with KKK members that died in 2011, Grand Exalted Cyclops, whose statue they put up, Obama put up in the Capitol Rotunda, and was also the majority leader in 1988. They made that literally the leader of the Democrats. Those people are racist. The Democrats have to keep screaming racism, racism, racism. You don't like them because they're, no, I don't like the Fab Four. I could care, my grandmother's a person of color. No, my grandparents were people of color. My father's side, I'm part Hispanic, part North African. So come on. I mean, just don't talk to me about people. And my grandparents were discriminated against because they were considered half black. So don't tell me that I'm saying anything against them because of the color of their skin or even their religion, because my father is part Egyptian and my surname is Egyptian. So their religion, it's just do that. Don't really. Let's grow up. Let's grow up. I'm sick of this. This is not about color or somebody's religion. It's about what they said. It's about the hatred that they're spewing and the division that they're making. They're the divisive ones. They're the ones of breaking people into communities. That was interesting what Pressley said. She said that unless you are black, if you're black, you must speak with a black voice, or gay, you must speak with the gay voice. Unless you do that, you're no longer gay or black or Muslim, right? But who determines what is the voice of these communities? Do you decide if that person is speaking? No, I don't like what you're saying. You're not speaking for the community. Are you the decider on what that speech is and what that voice is? You're determining their words, their thoughts, their actions, and their deeds. And if they do something that, you see, in the Soviet Union, they would practice this little thing. one day they would get up and say, this is the truth. Pravda, that was their newspaper. It's called Pravda, but it was just a bunch of lies and propaganda. So even if something is in print, doesn't make it true. They would say one thing one day, this is the law today. And then the next day they would change it completely. And then the next day they would change it completely. Every single day. So who determines? How does anybody know? One day, the talking points is this. And then the next day, the talking points is that. 2014, the talking points of the Democrat Party about the border and about the drugs and the sex trafficking and people coming in and depressing the wages and taking jobs away from them. In 2014, the Democrat Party was saying everything Trump is saying today. Because Trump is against it, they had to switch. That's what the communists did. They just flipped. So these two, this is why the Fab Four are so cohesive. Yet why isn't it obvious that it's not about color? But that's all you have to say. You don't like Obama's policies? Well, then you're a racist. You don't like what they say? Well, then you're racist. It's women of color. Women, that's a minority. And they're people of color. And the two are Muslim. Oh, that's just absolutely... No, it's not their words. It's not their actions. Why can't we just separate people? Not separate people. Just say that this person may be black, or maybe white, or maybe Christian, or maybe Muslim. It doesn't matter what they are. It's what they do and what they say. This person committed a crime. Not everybody with this skin color or this religion committed the crime. Only this one person committed the crime. And since they committed the crime, they would be punished for it. Not everyone. That's ridiculous. See, but that's what they're doing. That's why all white people are evil. All white people are racist. Oh no, all Republicans. All people who are for Trump are racist. You see, you have to blanket the whole group. So all women of color are innocent. Doesn't matter what they do or say, they're all innocent. But anybody who's for Trump, they're all guilty. It's not what these people do and say. It's not what these people do and say. Somebody has decided. And tomorrow, it will be a different story. Just like it was for Nancy Pelosi, which gives me an idea for another video.
I remember when I lost my mind.